There's something that I have been thinking about for quite a while now, and it's because I particularly like to go to different sections in YouTube, especially Black YouTube, just to hear what's going on out there, what's being talked about. And I'm starting to kind of want to separate myself, because I find myself in several videos saying, I'm not a part of the pro-Black community. I'm not a part of the Afrocentric community. I'm not a part of the conscious community. I am trying to put a wedge between myself and what I'm doing and what they do, because there are things that are going on within this community and it is rubbing me the wrong way. And I'm just not finding it any way uplifting. I don't find it any way bringing hope to Black people. There are some channels that are very racist, and they don't insult Black people on the level that some of these so-called pro-Black channels do. Even within the religious sector of YouTube, dealing with Black people and their belief in the Bible or their beliefs as a whole, there is a lot of negativity coming from certain people within the conscious Afrocentric pro-Black community. And I've noticed myself more and more, kind of not listening to these people. Like, I did a complete overhaul of the people who I was subscribed to, because I do have a channel where I'm just into certain things that I like, certain things that I am into. But I do have this channel where I will look up other Black people, and there's a few channels that I have found where the people are very level-headed. They do care about other Black people, but there are others who I had to unsubscribe from, and I had to completely leave alone because it was becoming toxic for me to listen to it. I wasn't taking it personal, but just sitting down and actually digesting what was being said was very toxic. And one thing for me, I am a person who believes in the Bible. And it seems like in the pro-Black conscious community, that is a no-no. So there's a strike against me there. And I have noticed that with some people, they were intelligently speaking about their griefs. Now, they were talking about white supremacy. And because nobody wants to hear that over and over and over again, they are now insulting their audience. They're insulting Black people in the things that they are saying when they are discussing certain topics. But I did make a video about pro-Blacks and this hatred for the Bible, which I've heard one person who was pro-Black, and when they get into the discussion of religion or the Bible or anything like that, they start yelling and screaming. That's one thing I don't understand, is like, why do you have to be so hostile? People are trying to act like people's religious beliefs have put them in this situation, where they can't fight back, they don't have intelligence, and they can't do anything about their situation. But here in this nation, where we are a minority, and we don't have any allies and friends, there is little that we can do. And then some of these people were in the religion themselves, and they are talking about people who are still in that religion. They are disrespecting even their elders. You know, they're talking about the old Black woman who supports the Christian Catholic Church. But a lot of Black people were indoctrinated not by choice, but because we were captive in this country. So it was passed down to us. So I would think that somebody who was a part of a white Judeo-Christian background would have sympathy for their Black peers who are still within that white evangelical Judeo-Christian religion. And I've had a lot of discussion with a lot of different people, even white people, about the Bible and how personally my beliefs line up more with who people will call the Hebrew Israelites. Now, I am not a part of any camp, any cult, any little organization like that, because a lot of that is a lot of people who are angry, a lot of people who just want to be hostile and they want to get that anger out. And also, a few of these camps have been infiltrated by police officers, and they're Black too. With any organization, like the Black Panthers, any organization, it gets infiltrated. I believe, like, people in the Bible, when you look at Deuteronomy, when you go through the Bible, that basically it does explain everything that goes on. If you pair, get a history book, read about history and what happened, and also read the Bible, you get a really good understanding of what was going on. And you can also apply it to today, and you won't be so fearful of what's going to come about in the future. And a lot of people will say, they believe in whatever we were doing before we came here, and we came from Africa, which Africa, that's a white man's name. They named the continent after a white man, so that wasn't its original name. And also there's a lot of people who are into evolution. The reason I don't subscribe to evolution is because my mother told me a story how my brother came in and told her that a teacher told him that basically he evolved from apes, and there was a picture up there, and that makes me feel some type of way that, this teacher would say that to a Black child. That's one. And then I looked up, everyone knows about Darwin, and I saw the original title of his book. And when they are discussing Darwin, they don't bring up the full title of the book. You really have to search that out and look that out yourself. And the title of the book is The Origins of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or The Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. The preservation of favored races. That's something that I didn't know was a part of that. They usually had it, the origin of species, or the origin of species by means of natural selection, and they didn't put the last part on there. And it was published in November 24th, 1859. And it is considered the foundation of evolutionary biology. And it introduced the scientific theory of evolution by way of natural selection, and they still call it a theory to this day. It is taught as if it is a concrete fact. And a lot of Black people subscribe to that, even though they are so pro-Black and they want nothing to do with white people. But they will go ahead and pick up his theory on evolution. And then some people will say, kind of like the story I did about the Alabama senator who was preying on underage girls and trying to hide behind the Bible. And then people say, you know, this is a Christian person who believed in the Bible. But the conscious community has its deviants too. I would just say, look up Nature Boy and some of the things that he had to say. And he is part of that pro-Black conscious community. And some things that I know about the conscious community or the pro-Black sector, especially with YouTube, is, you know, they talk about white supremacy all the time, like all the time. And you know, if you keep talking about the same thing over and over, people are going to get sick of it. People are going to look for solutions, and you can't really keep talking about that. And I used to watch someone's channel who talks about that nonstop. They talked about white people and white supremacy nonstop, to the point that I got sick of it. I got sick of their channel, and I think the final straw for me was hearing this person and their followers say that a Black person deserved to lose their life at a very young age because they were hanging around white people, which they grew up in a predominantly white area. They had white friends, and they were told the same things that we were told. Just because we're older and we know a little bit more and we've experienced a little bit more does not mean we have the right to wish death upon someone's child. And you're wishing death upon a Black person, the very Black person that you say you care about. And something that I noticed about, you know, some of these channels and some of these people is they'll start talking about controversial topics, and we all know religion and the Bible is one of them, especially with Black people, because we're very we know that there is a God. So we're some of the most believing people. And a lot of people are saying, well, you haven't seen anything yet. They're scoffing and they're mocking people who believe in the Bible. And what has the Bible done for you? What has God done for you? God hates you. It is very sinister and it's very evil. And it almost even lines up with what I've heard some Caucasian people say. I've heard them say that, you know, especially if you don't believe like they believe, they'll say, oh, what has your God or your Messiah done for you? Obviously, you know, he hates you. You're in this situation. And I've heard that from white people. And like I said, it's very funny to me that these so-called pro-Black conscious people, their words are lining up with some racist white people. And then if you disagree with some of these people, they will block you. They will send their minions after you. They have people who have crawled so far up their asses that, you know, if you say anything within disagreement, that, you know, they will block you, and they can't have any type of intelligent conversation and give their rebuttals or their disagreements, or this is why I disagree. They can't have a civil conversation. It's always has to be cussing, yelling. It has to be name calling. It has to be, I'm going to block you because I can't defend myself. I can't defend myself against what you're saying, and I can't have an intelligent conversation because I'm trying to pass myself off as a very smart, intelligent person, but I can't even talk to you about a controversial topic or issue without getting angry or getting frustrated. And we know when people get angry and frustrated is because they can't effectively bring facts about their disagreements. They can only call it stupid or dumb or something like that. And that's childish. It's a borderline remedial. They'll call you a coon. They'll call you a bed-wench. They'll say you're self-hating. These are words that are common with these type of people. They think everything and everybody is black. And they yell, get on code, or have a code, or something like to that effect. They'll say that. And some of these words that I've said myself in certain situations, but like I said, I'll do some self-reflecting, and there are some things that I'll pull back from and won't do, because when you see it done, you can have a better take on it and know that it's not good and you're not doing anything positive for anyone. You don't have to be insulting. You don't have to think that you're right all the time. You don't have to come off with this nasty attitude and this negativity, which I don't see how people can take it for very long. I mean, people talk about a Tommy Sotomayor. That's negativity, but also somebody calling you a coon because you disagree, or a bedwench, say you're self-hating and call you all kinds of names and even call you stupid and dumb. That's also negative. You know, they have disrespected the ancestors. Bedwench in itself and saying coon, those are words that white people used against us. Now we have so-called pro-blacks and conscious people using these words, and it's very disrespectful to the women who were raped and the men who were called coons in slavery. They'll call their family members coons and bedwenches, and they will call historical figures black figures because they were talking about integration and they were trying to do something that they thought would benefit people, and it didn't happen that way. So they'll call them coons and be very disrespectful to historical black people, figures that we have. You know, when somebody is telling you, I have to break this down to you, and what they're doing, they're putting themselves on a higher position and they're talking down to black people. And the way it came across to me when I heard that phrase, I have to break it down because people don't seem to understand. You don't seem to understand. When I hear that, sounds like I have to break this down so you dumb Negroes can understand. That's how it comes across. I mean, how many different ways can you break down white supremacy and racism? How many years are going to go by that you're going to keep saying that I have to break this down? You're basically trying to say that, you know, the people who are watching your channel and who have been watching your channel or on your platform for a while, they're so dumb that after a year or so, they don't know how to break down a story or an article or read between the lines, when that's not true. And I find it weird that a lot of black people don't take offense to that phrase, because I definitely do. Because if I hear somebody keep saying that I have to say this so you can understand, because it seems like you don't understand, it's calling you dumb. Where this person has to keep saying, you know, I have to break it down this way because you're so stupid you don't get it. And I've been doing this for a year or two, and I still have to do it because you don't get it. That's very insulting. You know, they'll say the majority of black people are delusional. So the majority of you Negroes are delusional. You don't live in reality. I don't know how you made it to the age that you are or make it day to day. That's very antagonistic and it's insulting as hell. I mean, I could take it better coming from a white person than this coming from another black person. It's abuse. It's literally abuse. And what's interesting is black people are subjecting themselves to this abuse. It's insulting, and that's why a lot of these people, I had to let it go. Even some people within the religious sector, they will say, black people just don't get it. They won't straighten up. They won't do this. With everything we've been through, they're adding more into it by being insulting and disrespectful to the collective of black people and calling, acting like you can't understand, a simple article or a story or the racism behind it, or saying you're delusional. And another thing that I've heard that's really interesting is this push that was being put out there by these conscious people, where they were saying white people are animals. They're animals and they came out of a cave, which I'll say that stuff too if you have someone who's belligerent and saying a lot of racist stuff. It is a good way to get under their skin, but when you say they're animals and they're not human, you take away their intelligence level. Right? They are not as intelligent as a normal human being. So therefore, their actions are actually justified because they don't have the intelligence level of a human being to know right from wrong. And they're just going off of their instinct, their predetermined instinct. But they'll say that these people are very smart and they're very intelligent, and they were intelligent enough to construct literature. And I'm speaking about the Bible. They were intelligent enough to construct this literature that is so deep in its meanings. They were that smart, but they're nothing but dumb cave animals. I'm gonna need the pro-Blaq conscious community to pick one. It's one or the other. It's either they're dumb cave animals or they are very intelligent human beings who constructed a very, very deep literature. And again, like I said, when you start bringing these questions or saying this to them, they will ban you and block you, and they like to block people that they know that they are not as intelligent as. They can't have that intelligent conversation because they're trying to be right all the time. They're trying to be on top all the time. They're trying to be the number one Negro. That's a big problem in the Black community, is a lot of these narcissistic people trying to be number one, kind of like when Umar Johnson was like, I am the Prince of Pan-Africanism. And, when a few other people say, because it's because I'm me and I have a little bit of following and I say so, kind of like the I'm white and I say so mentality. Some of these pro-Blacks are more European minded than they think. They have that because I'm who I am and I have a bit of a following. So I'm right because I said so. And, if you are not an ass kisser and you're not a brown nosing person, they don't like you because they want you to agree and clap and stand in open ovation, or they don't want you around. Oh, get out of here. And people will say, oh, well, that's their platform. They have the right to do it. And exactly, this is my platform and I have the right to say that these people are very fragile. They are not as intelligent as they would like to think they are. And they are very insulting and abusive toward the people that they say they love, Black people. And one thing about the Bible from the conscious community that I'm getting is that, this was not our original belief system. The Bible, this book, is something that we didn't have. We didn't have a book. That, when I heard that statement, I was like, I couldn't. I really couldn't. I was done and I was finished, because that's like saying that there was no transportation in 718 AD. It's the equivalent of saying there was no transportation in the year 718 AD because there were no cars. It's the same thing. I want to say it again. To say that we didn't have a book, the Bible, so that's not a part of our spiritual beliefs, or it has nothing to do with us, and it is specifically for white people, is like saying there was no transportation in 718 AD because there were no cars. As you can look at the Dead Sea Scrolls. You can look at scrolls. You can look at papyrus, parchment, leather, hieroglyphics. Now we have it in book form because we have paper and it was printed. Now you don't even have to have a book. It's on your computer and it's on your tablet. It's called the era that you're in. It's going to fit the era that you're in. So no, there were no books back then. But yes, there were scrolls. Yes, there were leather scrolls and parchment and different ways that it was written out. That the Catholic Church has it, and also it is in the Smithsonian too. I mean, you can go to a lot of different places and see that it was written out. It was translated into so many different languages. So no, we didn't have a physical book, but there were scrolls that were written out. And the reason why I say it's like saying there was no transportation because there were no cars. Of course, there were no fucking cars back in 718 AD. But there was transportation. There were horses. There were mules. There was ways to transport your stuff from one place to another. It's just not the same thing as today. We don't use animals, we use cars because of the advances in technology. I mean, that's such an asinine thing to say. It's like, you have to be like, you're not that stupid. You cannot be that stupid to say something like that because it wasn't in book form, that this has nothing to do with us. That's sometimes I think some of these people, are being paid to say this stuff, and then some people they have different religions, and something that I've been hearing about even here in Indiana is voodoo. And the amount of people who practice it, people that I know, and they know people who actually practice this. So what I say is, it's a religion too, because if you look at the word, I've had it up here all this time. If you look at the word religion, it is the belief in or worship of superhuman controlling powers, which is definitely what voodoo would fall into. I could care less if you want to dabble into that. You do what you want to at your own risk. But to sit up here and say that that's what you're going to do and you're not doing it, and there's lots of people who have been doing it and we're still in this condition, says that I guess it's not too much power in that can change the situation, since there's quite a few people who could have definitely used it to change their personal situation or their family situation, since they believe in it so much, in the power, and the power should have shown itself by now. The biggest thing that really gets me is that some of these people are taking on this narcissistic attitude and calling Black people, that believe in the Bible, an idiot just upon a disagreement. It's not like, people are trying to push something. Actually, what a lot of people are doing, because these very narcissistic pro-Black people will sit here and say they don't believe in that, but they will say something about certain people. Like, if you know anybody who considers themselves a Hebrew Israelite, they are not a Christian, and vice versa. So to be very disrespectful and say, yes, you are, this is what you believe in, that also shows your intelligence level, that you can't even hear somebody out. It's usually somebody defending themselves when people are putting out false information about their beliefs, and they're just telling them what they believe in, what they think, which Hebrew Israelite is not a religion. People believe that it is our nationality, and it's not even called Hebrew Israelite, and nobody calls themselves Black Hebrew Israelites. And a lot of people are not within these camps and cults that are out there, the ones that they call the alphabet boys. That's just like saying a Muslim believes in Christianity. They're nothing but a Christian. It's insulting. And then it makes people flock. And I've seen an increase and an uptick in this. And it's because these people know that they'll have a lot of people coming in if they discuss this controversial topic and stir people up. And I think that it's disgusting. They're calling these Black people, just because they say they're Bible believers, idiots, but they love Black people. We have to remember that these people are saying that they love Black people. There's no compassion for, they were caught up in the same religious institutions that a lot of people are caught up into, and they have no regard, no compassion. They're very cold-hearted about how they talk about other Black people as if, they're stupid, calling Black people stupid, calling Black people dumb, calling them idiots, calling them fools, making fun of Black people. But you want me to believe that you care and you love about the well-being of Black people when you're sitting up here having joy in Black people who are being killed in certain situations just because they had a white spouse, or they went on a vacation and there were a lot of white people around. You can't fucking avoid them. They are on the earth. You couldn't even get away from them if you were going out of space. They would find a way to get to you, but white people are everywhere. So sit up there and say, you shouldn't have been going here and there, or you shouldn't be around them, or So this person is so self-absorbed and just on their own dick, to the point that they feel like they have the right to say, this person deserved to lose their life because of this, and this is how I feel. I mean, you sound as evil as the white supremacist that you talk about, to then start turning on your own people and start putting down your own people. Whether you meant it to sound like that or to come across that way, I'm sorry, but that's exactly the way it's coming across. This insulting Black people. And I sat up here and I've seen it. I've listened to men and women talking to Black people like in a nasty, aggressive, abusive way. And Black people, some of these followers, they are trying to say, but no, I think this way, and they're being yelled and cussed at and talked down to, and having their intelligence and brought into question. But then, oh, please donate to me. I come to the conclusion about the Bible that, that's something that I'll read. I will look into the Greek and the Hebrew to get a deeper understanding about the Bible. Is because I look at the MO of the people. Even if you want to separate the Bible, you look at the MO of the people. You see how they take on the identity they try to of Native American, calling themselves Native Americans. They are trying to take on the identity of Egyptian, saying that they're Egyptians. So from what I see, they are not creating. Even the system they created, the economic system, a lot of that stuff didn't start with them. They took it and then perverted it. So if I'm noticing that, these people will lie about something, they will take something and they will twist it, I will say this is a big part of their MO. Because they're trying to, even today in 2017, they are trying to say that, slaves were immigrants. So they're not denying what happened. They're just twisting. They're twisting the truth. They know that we came over here, but they're trying to say not as slaves, but as immigrants. When an immigrant and a slave is a totally different thing. So that shows you they'll change one word and just change the whole idea. If they can go through generations and teach that, Black people were immigrants, there would be a whole different thought pattern of this, because they've been trying to erase slavery for a very long time. And that's what they are doing by inserting immigrant into the history books and teaching children that in public school. So I would say, I do believe that they looked at the scrolls. I do believe that it was translated. And I do think it was done with translators who were Caucasian, and they tried to insert themselves into it. And doing that, they changed the names, they changed some of the words in there. The overall understanding and meaning is the same, but they wanted it tailored more towards them, where they tried to put it as them. There's some things that they could not change. That's why they ended up taking so many books out of it, so many books out of the Bible, because there was no way they could change it to fit them. So it even says in the Bible where they would paint their likeness, the heathen would paint their likenesses to, the Bible, the people in the Bible. So, it says even in Revelations that they would go and change things in the Bible. And there's a penalty for doing that too, taking away and adding to the Bible. So that's what I look at. I look at the MO of a people, of the collective of the people, and this very much lines up with what they would do. It lines up with this right here. This image here is what they do. I mean, you would not have a people who would go this far. They have been pushing this image forever and ever. That all of the people in the Bible look like this. The Messiah looks like that. Even though in Revelations, hair like wool, skin of bronze. It was never brass either. It was bronze. Tried in the fire, meaning it was placed in a fire, it got deeper and darker and browner. If you look up the word ready, look at some animals. Just put ready into Google and pull up some animals. That is a reddish brown looking color. I don't believe that they would construct something and go so far as to trick people. I do believe that they 100% believe that this is about them. They want it to be about them and their people. They want to benefit now and they want to benefit later. They went so far as to create a state, Israel, with its own flag, with a Star of David, which there was no Star of David. And they took people who looked like this and placed them in that land. And they said it was supposed to have, when they returned, there was supposed to be peace. There has not been a day of peace because those are not the people. I would actually look at the Palestinian people and you'd see more of the original people there. But somebody is trying to convince you that over all of these years, they have been pushing this image. They have been showing this consistently over and over and over. But there's no truth to it. People have dedicated time and money. They created a land. They sent people who look like them into that land. They did all of this, but there's nothing to it. That's what they're trying to convince you. And I'm sorry, I'm not convinced because, like I said, I look at an MO of a person, and like I said, they like to take on people's images, and that's exactly what they did with us here, the Negroes. Here, the Negroes still in Africa, and the Negroes around the world. They basically took on who we are. That's what they do. But I'll go ahead and leave it right here. I'm sure a lot of people know the different YouTubers that I'm talking about who has this issue with people who are Bible believers. Let me know what you think about this issue with people who are pro-Black, who are attacking Bible believers, who have an issue with people who believe in the Bible when it's not hurting anyone. Let me know what you think about some of these conscious people who are very insulting to historical Black figures, about their own family members, calling them coons and bed-wenches. Let me know what you think about them disrespecting the ancestors. You know, being very nasty and abusive and using abusive language towards Black people, the very people that they say they love. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know if you've ever felt a so-called pro-Black or conscious person that you listen to, if you've ever felt that way, felt that, you know, they were insulting you or insulting Black people. And I will see you in the next one.